There's a book titled Choose Yourself. It was written by James Altucher, and in it he describes a process where you try to improve yourself 1% a day, and it's not something that's unrealistic. We can all do 1% a day, and if you add that up, obviously within 100 days, you'd be completely improved as a person. And so in the book he describes about how many times we cater to other people's desires and we always put ourselves second. We worry about how the decision we're making will impact others a lot of times more often than how much it will benefit us. And by benefiting us, we will be able to help those later. So it's an amazing book. I encourage you to read it. Again, it's called Choose Yourself by James Altucher. And so I share this information with you. I talk about this in my classes when I talk with students about putting themselves first. I ask them, for example, toxic relationships. I ask them, look around in your current life and who are you surrounded with? Are you surrounded with positive people and those that want to achieve bigger and better things? Or are you surrounded by people who are drawing you down towards the bottoms? And in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, if you continue to hang around these same people, are you going to be a better person, or are you going to be in a worse position than you are today? And you and I can clearly see that you're going to be in a worse position than you are today. And in the book I mentioned you earlier, James Altucher talks about how he has bought and made lots of money and also sold, bought and sold companies, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, learned a lot of lessons. And what he says is that every day you have to come up with ideas. And so every single time you look at something that's happening around you, you should write 10 ideas as part of that experience. And what it does is sharpens your brain and makes you think about the possibilities that exist in life. So a lot of people look at things in a negative way and they're always looking at the negative of everything. And other people like James has learned, and I also have learned that by looking at all of the good things that could come up from staying on the positive side, you will be able to improve yourself and then proceed forward. In the book, he also talks about failure, and he says that a lot of people talk about failing and they almost put it up on a pedestal, saying that, look, Thomas Edison, he failed and then he eventually developed the electric light bulb. And James talks about how we should not call that failure. We should call that experimenting, because in life sometimes you experiment with things. For example, you might apply and get a job in retail and find out that's not what your niche is, that's not where your passion is, and so therefore you possibly want to get a different job, one with better benefits. And so that's experimenting. The lesson to be learned here from this experimenting is that you can't expect to experiment twice with a bad experience and then later say that you learned your lesson. The lesson was learned on the first time you experimented. You applied for a retail job, for example, and you hate sales, and so you got out of sales. Now you're working in a different job capacity, and then about a year later, a friend of yours tells you, hey, you should try this new job. It involves sales, and I think you'll be great at it. And then you go ahead and experiment with this new job in sales that you hate to do, and next thing you know, you're in this sales job and you're sitting at your desk, or you just got off the phone after making 50 phone calls, and you're like, why did I get back into this? Well, that's definitely a failure, because you knew when you first experimented with this type of career field that you were not going to be a good fit, and you did it anyway. And so I tell my students in my classes that as you get older, you have less and less time on this earth, and as you get older, time becomes more valuable. And so the years you had before as a young person, as you get older, you have less and less of those years. And so these experiments need to be well thought out. You can't be jumping into a bad experience over and over again and then expect to always learn a lesson. The lesson should have been learned in the first or second time that you decided that was not a good fit for you. And so going back to toxic relationships, I mentioned that earlier in this video, and the circle of friends that you have. James Altucher talks about how when you're on your way to the top, you basically are losing, shedding friends and acquaintances and people that were kind of hanging around with you for entertainment as you're going to the top. And if you stay at the top, you're going to have a small niche of friends. Now, if you fail from the top, you quickly realize that a lot of these friends and acquaintances were not really your friends, because when you're failing, most people run the other direction. And so it's important that you focus your energies on friendships that are going to last, whether things are going well or not. It's important that you learn the valuable lesson to choose yourself so that you will become successful at whatever it is that you're trying to be successful on. And it's important that you start abiding by that 1% rule, where every day you're going to do something that's going to improve your life compared to yesterday and the week before. So whether it's food, your mental thoughts, your behavior, your decisions, that 1% has to be put into effect. And lastly, the ideas that I told you about, that every day you start writing down ideas for your life, how to improve things, how to improve the process, your future. And by doing those very few things, you'll begin to see a transformation of your life, results, your future. And so thank you for listening. And as with any videos, send me an email or comments about any area that you wish me to create a video for, and I will create that for you and share my insight or wisdom that can improve your life and future. And thank you for listening.